Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tanya Seneschal, and I'm the event manager for the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, and we'd like to welcome you today. Today's webinar. Oftentimes, sales can be a tough gig, and too often we are trying too hard to sell stuff and end up making our prospects feel uncomfortable or discounting our products or services to get the deal. How can we be seen as different from our competitors? How can we act and sound differently to set ourselves apart? So thank you so much for joining us today to learn what may be holding you back from becoming a rock star sales professional and take away some techniques to help you start your journey of advisor-based selling. Today's presenter is Eric Fry. Eric spent much of his career in the corporate world at Xerox, and he ran Staples for a few years in Atlantic Canada. About 10 years ago, he started his entrepreneurial journey by buying Sandler Atlantic. He loves helping and seeing people develop. So before we get started with Eric, I just want to mention if anybody has any questions throughout, just pop them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask Eric when there's a second. And today's session is also being recorded and we will be sharing it on our social media channels afterwards. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Eric.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tanya. Geez, I forgot I wrote that a little while ago, but yeah, listen, lots has changed, lots going on, and it's a bit of a nasty time right now. But you know what? A lot of businesses that we're dealing with are actually thriving. Tanya and I were just chatting before everybody came on, and luckily, knock on whatever this is, we're thriving. And I don't know if it's people just kind of need more of this types of services that we do, but let's hope that we can keep the momentum. And cheers to everybody on the call here. And thanks for spending some time with me. So today's going to be super interactive. It's not going to be everybody be quiet and listen to me, because that would be really, really boring. All right. So I'm going to have lots of questions. We're going to have little discussions, and I think we'll maybe save the breakout rooms, because usually that's for a bigger, audience. But we're small but mighty today. So what I'll do is I will share my screen, and everybody can see that. All good. Okay, so I called it, modifying our sales strategy. And I don't know how familiar you are with Sandler. I guess just by show of hands, who has heard of Sandler training in the past before today? Okay. All right. In a nutshell, Sandler, we work with all kinds of businesses, even startup companies, and all the way through to international sales and leadership companies and organizations. Even a lot of non-selling professionals, like engineers and accountants and lawyers, and a lot of times they're really good at what they do, as far as knowing their products and services, but they struggle with sales, they struggle with business development, and their sales cycles are taking too long, or they're giving out lots of proposals and quoting and hoping. And it's, they're not getting the response that they're looking for. So there's a number of challenges that our clients seem to experience. We're going to talk a little bit about your specific challenges, and then we'll talk further about some strategies to help you overcome some of these things. So hopefully by the end of the session, you'll actually have one or two practical ideas, maybe even more, to take away and try as early as today, believe it or not. None of this stuff is rocket science. What you're going to realize is that, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm doing a little bit of that, but I could be doing more of this or less of that. And this is all about, as Tanya said at the beginning, how do we set ourselves apart? All right. So these are two very different things: being busy versus being productive. Let's start, and I'm just going to, if it's okay, Tanya, I'm just going to, ask some questions and maybe not pick on some people, but maybe ask for some responses. So let's just start with Matthew. He's on my top left. Matthew, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm a train wreck, 10 being I'm the most productive person in the world. Where would you rank yourself on that scale?
10 being productive, I would
Yeah.
say, because I'm sort of adjusting to working remotely and in a new position. So it's I'd say I'm at about a 8 right now.
8. Okay. That's good. That's good. Awesome. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced, we work through our weeks and then all of a sudden it's Friday afternoon for those of us that have a 5-day work week. And we realize, oh my God, I didn't get anything accomplished. I've been so busy. I've been trying to put out fires. I've been doing this and it's not a really good feeling from my experience. I used to rate myself on the drive home from work every day, out of 10, how productive I was. And what I know is that with the changing world right now and the changing way that we need to adapt, we need to manage our time effectively and we need to be as productive as we can. Sometimes we get caught in that busy vortex, oh, I'm so busy, but I'm not getting as much accomplished as I otherwise might like to. So from our world, this is kind of the backdrop to what we do. Success comes from a few different areas, and it's almost like a three-legged stool. The first would be attitude, you know, um, your belief system about your ability, in this case, to sell, right? Or your belief system about your product or service, or your belief system about your marketplace, or that sort of thing. And it's all about, managing, identifying and isolating, but managing that head trash that gets in the way. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about head trash in just a minute. So having and maintaining a positive attitude is key. The second leg of the stool is around behaviors. What am I doing? What do I need to do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, to be successful in sales? What should my plan look like? Should I do this or should I do that? And so that's what we call our cookbook. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then the third area, I've got a good attitude. I'm ready to go. I got my plan. Now, what do I do? What are the techniques? What are the strategies? How do I ask the right questions? When do I ask questions? How do I set clear expectations? How do I qualify, through a sales cycle, all of that stuff. So it's really these three areas that we believe make up success when it comes to sales or leadership for that matter. So let me ask, um, let's go to Christine. Christine, head trash. How would you define head trash? What kind of comes to mind as far as a definition of head trash for you?
Well, head trash would be all the negativity that seeps in, right? Whether it's COVID related or just head trash in general, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, maybe I shouldn't be in this job. Um, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like maybe it's not me. Have I, all the, it's just all the junk that if you're not having a great day or a great week, that can kind of seep in there and maybe start second guessing yourself and can kind of sometimes play a role in your performance or your psyche, right? Because you think, this is things aren't great. What's going on?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would I be right in
Oh,
that or?
yeah, absolutely. It's all those self-limiting beliefs,
Yeah,
it's just stuff that clouds our minds and
yeah,
weighs us down and causes us to, not be as productive as we'd like or as positive as we'd like, right? And it has a really impact on our attitude.
yeah,
And everybody has it. Everybody has it. I have it. Everybody has it. But it's up to us to kind of put that stuff behind us. Now, let's go a little bit further and just so I can understand from your standpoint. When it comes to sales, my biggest challenge is this. What is it? How would you articulate that? Let's go to Morgan. Morgan, you're muted right now, so if you can hear me. When it comes to sales, what's your biggest challenge? with regard to being a rock star salesperson? Morgan's okay. There you go.
I have nothing but challenges with sales. I'm not actually a salesperson here. I would say that my biggest challenge would be getting out of my own head, I guess, and trying to put myself in the other person's shoes.
Okay, yeah, getting out of your own head, getting out of your own way, trying to be, empathetic to other people, understanding their situation. Okay, yeah, good. Thanks, Morgan. Jermaine, what about you? What's your biggest challenge with
I would
selling?
say
If you do
my
any
biggest
selling?
challenge would be following up,
Following
because
up.
I'm really good sort of when people are here in the gallery, and then I I ask questions, and I listen to any sort of concerns, and I obviously like never expect a sale, but I like to follow up. It's sort of a networking thing, and but it's the following up. Like how many times does a person continue to follow up afterwards? Somebody's expressed interest in this artist, so like, do I just keep on doing it? Do I keep on doing it? Like at some point, I feel like I'm being bothersome.
Yeah. How do I follow up? When do I follow up? Do I follow up? All of that stuff. Yeah. Before I become a pain in that, you know what? Matthew, what's your biggest challenge? Biggest sales challenge?
For myself, it would probably be confidence. As a new grad, it's hard to convince myself that I can actually do it. I haven't had much practice in it at all, so I'd say having the confidence to sell, and um, I'd say closing would be my biggest challenge. I can talk fine and get a good conversation going, but when it comes to actually closing, that would probably be my biggest challenge.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So everybody's got some challenges, right? Whether it's the beginning of the conversation or closing or qualifying or following up, as Jermaine said. Here's what we know. Everybody's got competition in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's not a direct competitor. Maybe it's an indirect competitor. What do I mean by that? So, for example, for us, our biggest competitor is for companies just to do nothing, or spend money elsewhere, on marketing campaigns or that sort of thing. So we all have competition, but sales is a slight edge business. And what that means is we need to stand out. Let's say that you've got, so Matthew, what's your product or service? What are you selling?
So it would be a lot of general virtual consulting and services, but now I'm kind of in charge of selling our virtual event management services. So from onboarding, team training to retreats and stuff like that. We actually just launched it last week, and now we're waiting for the first calls and discoveries to come in, and I'll be in charge of closing those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Brand new. Right?
Brand new.
That's good. So I guess the point being, I mean, if I'm on the other side, if I'm one of your prospects and I've got a proposal from you and a proposal from a couple of your other competitors, we need to set ourselves apart, right? We need to be different, which is kind of the vendor to advisor piece. When we think of a vendor-based kind of a relationship with, with a prospect or a client, it's kind of transactional, not a lot of relationship. It's we're not really differentiating between us and our competitors. Tanya, an advisor-based relationship, what does that mean to you? How would you describe an advisor relationship with somebody?
Probably somebody you can go to with questions, or somebody that you feel comfortable. Like it's less this person's talking at you and someone you're going to have a conversation with, and that is going to, you trust will be there for your needs, as opposed to you're worried that they are just there to sell to you.
Yeah, and it, feels good to have that kind of a relationship with somebody. So how do we get there? Because a vendor, when we're seen as a vendor, we kind of get treated like a vendor, and then it's usually a price driven decision most times, right? Because you're the same as everybody else, and so yeah, okay, your price is a little lower, so maybe we'll go with you, right? And that happens way too often, and it's our fault, believe it or not. I had a coaching call with one of my clients yesterday, and they were in that situation where it was price was the biggest factor. And if we let that happen, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure, and we're not differentiating with our, from our competitors. So let's talk a little bit about communication. This is kind of where it starts. Here's a statement. Most of my clients, they just want to get down to business, and they don't want a lot of personal interaction. Agree or disagree? Christine, what do you think? Agree or disagree?
Can I say both? I agree. Yes, I agree, and I also disagree. I think part of it is based on the personality of the person you're interacting with, because some people are we all know those people, let's be honest. I've got some members who, when they call, they don't want to say, talk about whatever. They just want to call. They've got a purpose, etc. They're done. I have others who I know different things about, their family, their friends, their etc. So I think I don't know. I can't say one way or the other, because I have members, so they would be my clients, who some would be a little bit of both. Some yes, some no.
Okay. All
Is that a fair statement, or did I totally blow that up?
Hey, listen, there's no right or wrong answer here, right? But you usually you want to pick one, but be able to kind of defend whatever your answer is. Matthew, I can see you're thinking about it.
I think part of it, Eric, in my opinion, for me, is knowing my audience.
Yeah.
Reading my audience. It's a little harder now because we're not face to face, but also reading my audience as well, I think is a tool for me, which I've learned over the years, and I've been doing this for a while. I can somewhat read the audience, so therefore I can tell when we meet, if we're going to get right down to the brass tacks, or we might talk a little bit about the weather, or the weekend, or something to that effect.
Good point. Matthew, I can tell you're dying to say something about this slide.
I would say this one's really contextual. It's all about reading the audience, like we said before. I think with our services, it takes a lot of ongoing work. So developing a personal interaction or kind of relationship and being someone that they want to work with is important. It's not just about the business. We're going to be doing a lot of ongoing work together. So I think it's important to have that personal interaction. Even if they want to get down to business, I think it's important for me to project, a personable approach so that they want to work with me rather than just take the service and off they go.
Yeah. So we do all of our business now like this, all of it, 100%. We do all of our training, and we train, I'm guessing, I don't know, probably 200 people a week from different companies all over the world. And all of my sales calls, because I drive the sales and the strategy of the business, are done like this, virtually, right? And this really comes into play. This would be the effectiveness of different modes of how we communicate. When I first saw this, I was shocked. What this states is that over half of what we communicate is done through body language. What's some examples, Morgan? What do I mean by body language? What would be examples that you can think of?
Posture, whether a person's leaning forward in interest or lean back. Eye contact, looking around.
Yeah, absolutely. Posture, eye contact, gestures, whatever, right? So over half of what we communicate is actually done non-verbally, right? Tonality is second, right? So that's your voice, your pitch, your volume, your pace, all that kind of stuff. And then only the words and the phrases that represents like 7% of what we communicate. So what this tells me is that the more that we communicate over text and email and that sort of thing, it is not effective. It's not nearly as effective as body language. So you're saying, well, God, body language, you got to be face to face. Listen, this is face to face. It's just virtual, right? So I would encourage you, if you don't have a Zoom account or if you don't do this kind of thing, and you're talking to a lot of clients, like I can't remember the last time I had a regular phone call, believe it or not. It's been weeks. I do it all like this. And anytime I set up a meeting, I'll send them a Zoom invite and they'll accept and they'll click and log on. And then we can get that much more effective body language kind of conversation. This helps sets us apart. Too many salespeople send out quotes on email and they communicate on text and email, and it's dangerous because it's one dimensional, and you can get lost in the communication, right? So communication is key. Now, what kind of skills do you think are really important as a good salesperson? There's probably some great salespeople here. What are some good skills and characteristics of a really good salesperson? Jermaine, let's go back to you.
Well, I do find listening is important. You know, you'd like to impart your own experience in ways, but nobody cares about that. So, you know, it's about what do they want, right? So listening, yeah, not being pushy. Well, for me anyway, it's not being pushy. Mine is, it's very congenial. It's, I guess is trying to be like develop a relationship before anything else. Those are my two big things. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Were you ever on the other side of this, where you were actually buying something, right? And you were the prospect and you weren't being listened to, and the other person just kept talking and trying to convince you and trying to push you, you know? Morgan, how did that make you feel?
I do not like that. I kind of, you get your back up pretty quick when someone's doing that.
Yeah, big time. It's offensive, right? So here's a little rule. You might want to write it down. Really, really simple. 30/70. So when you're in a sales meeting, talk 30% of the time, because people love to be listened to. I'm telling you. And I know that sounds really basic and simple, but you know, too many people feel that I got to tell people about everything we do. I got to convince them of my products and services, and you know, I've got to show them why we're so much better. And I love what Jermaine just said. People don't care about that. Believe it or not, they don't. What they care about is if you can solve their problem. But how can we solve a problem if we don't know what it is? And we just assume, so we fire all over our features and benefits and quotes and that sort of thing. What that leads to is a term that sends shivers up my spine. It's called unpaid consulting. We put way too much time and effort into proposals and quotes and putting all this stuff together and then hand it over, only to completely lose control of the sales cycle. And they're going to take that and probably compare it against your competitors. And then it becomes a price discussion. And so you can see how we can kind of spiral down into that vendor space. So yeah, can't stress the fact enough that if we do less talking in a sales call and more listening, our job is to collect information, not to dispense it. Now, here's one other thing before we move on to some prospecting. Let's say we were watching a sales call, you know, let's say we were watching a video or a live one, you know, where you had a salesperson and a prospect. Duncan, welcome. By the way, can you hear us? Can you hear us okay, Duncan? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. That's great.
Okay.
So Duncan, if you were watching a sales call interaction with a prospect and a salesperson, how could you tell who's in control of that sales call? What would be some indicators or an indicator?
Well, I guess who is doing most of the talking, and who is listening. And I guess just the body language and empathy, maybe between the parties, is also what I'd pay attention to.
Yeah, all that stuff for sure. And it's the person, and you're right. So do less talking, but the one asking the questions is the one in control, believe it or not. Like if you're asking questions, you're going to get responses, you're going to get information and collect information. And I'll tell you, that's the key to sales. That's the key to successful sales, is understanding what they want. As Morgan said, it's offensive when people assume they know what you want and they just start firing solutions at you, right? And they're just hoping something will stick. Simple concepts. I would encourage you to maybe try that in your next sales call. Maybe you're doing it already, Matthew. You're probably an old veteran at stuff like this, are you?
Definitely not.
Okay, so let's move into prospecting. Now, listen, not everybody likes to prospect. Not everybody prospects for business. Show of hands, who at least part of their role is prospecting in some way, shape, or form for new business. Christine, Matthew, Jermaine. Okay, yeah, Morgan. All right. Duncan, I don't know if you have a camera, do you?
Yeah.
Webcam? Always love to see the shining face. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry I'm late. I just had an immigrant family come in, and I struggled with the communication, and so we're meeting again tomorrow with a translator. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe some good business there for sure.
Yeah.
Prospecting, a lot of people hate it. Who loves to prospect? Who loves to make cold calls and all that kind of stuff? Oh, no hands went up. Imagine that. Yeah. It's not everybody's favorite thing to do. And here's the misnomer. Cold calls are just maybe part of your prospecting plan. I know a lot of people that don't make cold calls and they're wildly successful. So let's just not associate prospecting with cold calls. But if we kind of just take the pressure off, it's a conversation. That's all it is. We're reaching out for a conversation in some way, shape, or form. Here are some best practices for prospecting. Sometimes, I saw most of the hands go up, but sometimes it's Friday afternoon and you realize, holy smoke, I didn't do any prospecting this week, or for even this past month, I really didn't do much. So one best practice is just take some time, whether it's every day, and I don't mean a full day. No way, that'll blow your brains out. I mean, take 45 minutes here, 20 minutes there, a half an hour there, just sporadically throughout the week or the month, whatever your cadence might be, and put it right in your calendar. Some people even color code it, so my green times in my calendar are prospecting for new business. And then you can kind of look at your calendar at a glance, and it just kind of keeps the awareness that, yeah, I gotta do some outreach here, whatever that is. We're going to talk about different ways of prospecting. So who does that today? Who puts time in their calendar to develop new business on a fairly regular basis? Does anybody do that? Or does it just kind of happen ad hoc? Yeah, Jermaine's giving me the nod. Yeah, Christine as well. Duncan, what about you? Do you, maybe you just have people piling into your office all the time?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I try not to encourage too much business, to be honest. Got all I can handle.
Wow, that's great. Well, congratulations. I don't hear that very often, so you'll have to tell us your tricks.
Well, I guess it just haven't been around long enough. And, you know, providing good service and people tell others and, um, yeah, a lot of it is just networking in the community and people getting to know you. And someone says, I need an accountant, and, you know, your name comes up. So, and it goes from there. And so it makes it easier. You know, you were talking about listening. When someone calls you or drops in, it's very easy to listen and control the questions because, you know, they have a need and you need to just simply listen to what that need is and see if there's a fit. And I spend a lot of my time just making sure there is a fit, and often, not often, but occasionally saying, you know, I think you should go to somebody else. It's not something I have the skills for, or, you know, maybe there's not a good fit, or sometimes they just disappear, which is a sign that they decided there wasn't a good fit,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And so, Duncan, what you're doing is using a variety of ways to prospect for new business. Again, prospecting isn't just cold calling, right? But what we're actually going to work on is touch on a really powerful tool called our introduction. What does that sound like? And how can we be seen as different when we have the opportunity to introduce what we do to others? Okay, so here's some prospecting methods. Um, Duncan mentioned networking. Does anybody do cold calls by chance? No, Matthew shaking his head.
Have
Christine,
in past jobs before,
have
but
you?
not in here.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I have done it the odd time, but it's not, yeah, it's not the greatest. And it's probably, and part of it may be me, but I don't enjoy it. And yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
find nowadays, you know, a lot more cold calling was done successfully or, you know, whatever, even 10 years ago. But a lot of people now don't like to be cold called either.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
off-putting to some businesses, business people. Everybody's busy, as we know. The term busy, I know, is a bit overrated, but for some it's very off-putting. I don't like it when people pop in here like that, trying to
okay.
sell us something, right?
Anybody use social media for developing new business in some way, shape, or form? Yeah, Matthew does. Yeah, Christine. Okay. Jermaine. Good, good.
Yep.
We are we do a ton on social media. I'm on LinkedIn 10 times a day, you know, and using it in ways that it's really productive to find, you know, to get introduced to new people and to spark new conversations. Because again, remember, that's what prospecting is just having some conversations. So if we take the pressure off and instead of saying, you know, I got to do some prospecting today, I got to have some chats with people today. I got to have some conversations, right? And it just kind of humanizes it a little bit. Referrals. Does anybody use referrals? Yeah, good. Awesome. Do you, Matthew, I'm going to just ask you here. Do you make it a point of asking for referrals, or do the referrals just kind of come in for you?
So far, they've just kind of come in. I'm pretty new to the company, but once I get more contact with our sales and people who've gone through our processes or uh, taken on some of our services, I would definitely make a point of asking for a referral in a nice way, of course.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just it, right? Here's the stats with referrals. 20% of your clients are already out there saying how awesome the Fredericton Chamber is, or how awesome Duncan's accounting services are, or et cetera, right? They're out there just saying that to people that they know, right? And that's how we get kind of word of mouth referrals. Another 20% that it's just not in their DNA. So we don't care about those people, but it's the 60% that's left that represents, I believe, the biggest opportunity. And those are the people that would happily refer you, but we got to ask them, right? And as Matthew said, we got to do it comfortably, right? So what I would typically do is, hey, look, Tanya, really appreciate the business. we've enjoyed working with the Fredericton Chamber for a long time, then I would ask you kind of, how it's benefited you and that sort of thing. And then I might just say something along the lines of, look, a lot of our business these days is actually generated through referrals and word of mouth. And I'm curious whether there's anybody in your network that even might benefit from a conversation with me about, some of their challenges and maybe what we do. And no sales pitch, but just to kind of have an introductory conversation. I don't know if anybody comes to mind, Tanya. Maybe we'll just kind of work through this. Let's role play it a little bit, Tanya. Anybody come to mind for you?
Why, yes. I can think of one person who could use your services. Client ABC might.
Okay.
Would you like me to connect them to you?
Listen, that'd be great. I'll make it really easy. If you just want to send them an email and copy me in and just make the intro that way, then I can pick it up from there. That's awesome. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. I will do that. I'm glad to help you out.
Wow. Well, that went almost too smooth, eh? So yeah, Tanny was an easy prospect or an easy client. But so the point being that if we put things like asking for referrals or networking events or whatever, or new business development phone calls, whatever your activities might be, just in a bit of a weekly framework for you, it kind of keeps us focused and disciplined on doing that. And your cookbook could be, yours would be wildly different than everybody else's. It really doesn't matter, but it's kind of a personal accountability tool. Once you kind of figure out, maybe a combination of some of these, maybe it's social media posts, maybe it's, calling up a strategic alliance and having them kind of like what we're doing here, right? A strategic alliance with the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, putting Sandler in front of some of their membership, right? So there's a ton of different ways to get our message out there. And the cookbook is simply just kind of a mechanism to kind of record it and hold yourself accountable. Now, this is going to go up and down and change and that sort of thing, but eventually you'll kind of get a bit of a cadence going that might make sense. Anybody do anything like this today? No. So yeah, that's my cookbook right there. So I make about 20 calls a week, go to a couple of virtual networking events, set 5 new appointments a week with people that I haven't met before, ask for 5 referrals. And we have a bunch of classes going on. In fact, right now, Curtis, my trainer, is doing a class. And so I'll invite people to sit in on some classes. Oh yeah, that was really good. I'd like to learn more, right? So it's just another way of us generating some business. Christine, from your standpoint, what do you do at the Chamber? What's your role?
I do sales and marketing.
Okay. So would something like this be helpful, Christine, for you?
Yep, it would be. One thing I'm going to mention about for referrals that we do here at the Chamber that some of you may want to consider implementing in some way is we have a program called Growing Together, and it's a referral program. So if a Chamber member refers another Chamber member, they receive a $50 gift card to a member restaurant. And it goes to the individual. So for example, Eric, if you're not, if you've got, Tom Smith who works under you as an employee and Tom Smith refers a business, then Tom receives the gift card, not you as not a Sandler training. So, because that was important as well, is why we did it that way rather than something going back to the business if an employee is the one who does the referring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So a bunch of different ways. So Matthew, you're brand new in your role, and I'm sure you're going to kill it and that sort of thing. Would some structure around some new business development activities be helpful for you, Matthew?
Absolutely. I actually just took notes on this right now because I'll probably put that into action this afternoon. So far, it's just been marketing efforts and getting the word out that we have launched. And actually, myself and our intern are working on our marketing plan right now, and that's how I spent my morning. And so it's similar in a way, because we're pushing out our goals for posting and outreach and how much we're gonna have for actual success in interactions. So this is more all encompassing for the sales effort. So I'll probably take that into action for sure.
Good. Awesome. Great. Jermaine, I have a note that you raised your hand.
I did. I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
I lower my hand here. Okay. I do that, like what Christine said about, she has a very regimented, wonderful way of asking for recommendations or referrals. When we get referrals, I like to thank the person referring with a gift and a card, but it's not formalized. So it's more of a surprise for them. And actually, when it's worked, it's when I send it, I find it works more often, but like they'll do it again. But it seems to me that it's not a good idea to do it like that, where it's more random as opposed to. What do you think?
Well, it's funny, some people have referral programs in place where they'll get a gift card, for a referral. These are usually for some of our clients, like a petroleum company. Oh, if you get us a referral, we'll give you a $50 gift card for, your next purchase or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think it drives the wrong behavior. I think, what we're looking for is genuine conversations rather than just unqualified type of introductions that are going to waste your time. So,
Oh, can I just add to mine? It has to be successful.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, you can send me 27 names and you get a gift card. No, there has to be, in the end, the referral has to become an actual member of a paid member of the chamber before a referral gift card is given. I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I'm a big fan. Like we had some of these just little. It's nice linen paper, and it's empty on the inside, and I just do a little handwritten note. Say, hey, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. People like it's an easy thing to do. So back to Jermaine's point. If it becomes a strategic alliance and a massive referral source, like Digital Nova Scotia is a big strategic alliance of ours, as an example, right? They've given us tons and tons of business. Then it's a little bit more formalized. Even a handwritten note, can go a long way.
Yeah.
So I know Duncan doesn't need any of this stuff because he's got more business than he knows what to do with coming in his door. Duncan, we're so jealous. Like, how do you do it?
Well, again, I just come to know people in banking, investments, physicians, peoples that are leaders of local groups that I support financially. And somehow every day or every once in a while, just comes in to complement what I already have. And, I can't be making cold calls or doing that things professionally. And so I guess it's just the dividends of having done decent work for many years.
Yeah,
So I'm at the other end of the spectrum, if you will. And I respect what you're doing, because certainly when I was younger, I wish that I had known more of these ideas that you have, which are very good. And, bringing discipline to doing it. And
right.
I probably would have eaten much better back in my 30s.
Well, that's good. Well, look, we're going to spend about another 5 or 6 minutes on how to introduce ourselves, how to, we talked about, people don't want to hear all about our features and benefits. I mean, if I was to show up and say, hey, Matthew, I'm Eric from Sandler Training, and we provide sales training and leadership training and customer service training, and we provide all kinds of support and coaching and online resources and anything that you want, do you want to buy some? Like, I obviously, I was embellishing there, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about our features and benefits, including mine. And nobody take that the wrong way. They care about the problem that you can solve for them. Then it becomes an engaging discussion. So here's a tool called it's a discovery chart. All right. And typically we would spend a lot of time on this because it is very important in the front end of the system of selling. And that's how to introduce yourself. Okay. So what we do is it's kind of a means to an end. We start on the left and work to the right. Okay. So in the case of one of our features, and again, nobody cares that, oh yeah, we provide online interactive sales training. Okay, that's great. Yeah, no, I think we're good. We don't need any kind of thing because I haven't engaged them. I've just dumped some features at them. So let's go a step further. What's the benefit of that feature? Well, it's convenience, saves a lot of time, travel expense. All right. What's the problem that this solves for our clients? We know what, we got a lot of clients up in the Miramichi and that sort of thing, and they can't access our training center, and they don't get the support that they need. So what's a statement that we could then share instead of a feature? What's a statement that we could share? You know what? A lot of our clients, they're concerned that they're just not able to access the support and the training that they need to grow their business. To me, that's a much more engaging, way of introducing my business instead of the way I just kind of, what's the word? Anyway, sillingly did it to Matthew. So what we do is we just have a feature and we work to the right to come to what's the problem that feature solves. So let's do one or two examples together here, just so we can kind of get the gist of it. Matthew, I'm going to go back to you. What's a feature of your business? Like
so let's say
here's a feature. Here's
interactive team onboarding, online, of course, through Zoom.
Interactive team. Okay, cool. I'm learning about your business here. So interactive team onboarding. So what's the benefit of interactive team onboarding?
Since most teams aren't accustomed to being remote right off the bat, now that we have so many teams being remote, not many people are able to connect with their teammates, understand like the emotional intelligence that would be better developed in person and in an office onboarding. So our onboarding services go through emotional intelligence exercises and also some dysfunctions of a team, because sometimes the tension and miscommunications are more palpable in an office setting, but for remote teams it's a lot more difficult. So we go through exercises on dysfunctions of a team so you can identify points of weakness in your own team, and also the more emotional intelligence based exercises are talking about how you can interact with the different people and how you can identify that just through a Zoom call too, and adjust the way you communicate with each other and find the best people for the best tasks and such.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're speaking my language for sure. So in a nutshell, what's the problem that you solve? What's the problem that you solve?
Making remote teams feel like an in-person team.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap that up into what we call a pain indicator in a statement or a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you some words that I want you to write down here, everyone. Believe it or not, it's called FUD WACA. FUD WACA. So F is frustrated. U is upset. D is disappointed. W is worried. A is anxious. C stands for concerned. And A is even angry, believe it or not. So all of these words are kind of problem focused. And so our indications are that if we can work that into our statement, then it becomes much more powerful. So some of our clients are concerned that they can't access the sales training and support that they need. So Matthew, let's go back to you. How would you wrap that up using one of those words in a concise pain statement of a problem that you solve? Because that's what resonates with people.
Mm-hmm. I'd say their statement could be something like, I'm concerned that some of our team members don't feel like they're part of a team.
Okay.
Or our team.
Yeah, perfect. Which is much more, I see how it's connected to, online onboarding services, but now I'm feeling the emotion of that, right? And I'm anchored to the problem that you're solving.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, we would typically spend 2 or 3 hours on this whole kind of a thing and working it into to a conversation and that sort of thing. But I just wanted to kind of leave you with this, to just focus on less about your features, because we know what it feels like and sounds like to get dumped on by somebody who's just pushing their features and benefits at us, and just stay focused on, okay, anybody watch Dragon's Den or Shark Tank or any of those? Yeah. I can always hear Kevin O'Leary saying, what's the problem that you're solving? What's the problem that the market is going to gain from this kind of thing, or the market problem that you're solving? And so it's the same thing. Nobody cares as much about our features. They care about the problems that we solve. So anyway, I've thrown a lot at you, for sure. And a pretty quick hour, but I'm curious, just as we wrap up, I hope this was a halfway decent investment of your time. And I'd be curious just to maybe whip around the group here, and what was your biggest takeaway? What was something that you can maybe take away and who knows, maybe put in place as early as today or tomorrow? I'll just call the name and you can just fire it out. Let's start with Duncan. Duncan, anything you took away from today?
Yeah, so again, Eric, I think it was excellent, and particularly the discipline and understanding, what's important. I thought you handled it really great, and everybody should benefit.
Great.
And I've got to go. I've got a client at the door, so I'm just going to leave. Sorry.
Good luck, Duncan. Thanks a lot. Morgan.
I like the matrix chart for keeping track of your week, for how your goals for meetings and calls and things like that. A guy like me needs something like that.
Team?
The chart, was Morgan said, was excellent, and I will use something like that, which is awesome. But also, when you talked about less about features and focus on problem solving, I think that that's something that I can be more mindful of. And also, I knew it anyways, but reminder of the communication on the body language, right? How important that is, and getting onto the Zoom instead of now with COVID, getting away from the phone or the text or an email, trying to do as best face-to-face as we can.
Good. Awesome. Great. Yeah. Thanks, Christine. Janine.
Yeah, I liked the Zoom thing. I liked the sort of writing down your commitments to do whatever you've intended to do. And I love the thing about the 60% for the people that we're not asking for referrals.
Yeah,
good. I'm going to do that.
There's gold in those hills for sure. Yeah, that's the question. Perfect. Matthew.
For me, it was that last point there about the pain point statements, rather than focusing on our features. I've found that in the last couple of weeks while we were developing our marketing plan and our launch for this new division of Pragmatic Solutions, that we've been almost too focused on our benefits and what we're providing, rather than articulating what pain point we're actually solving. So I think moving forward with our marketing and prospecting, even writing it out into those statements is going to help us communicate better with our audience for sure.
Cool.
And of course, the matrix, the to-do list is really good.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Wendy, are you? I'm not sure if you're still with us.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chart seemed something that could keep me on track for sure. I'm big on calendars, sticky notes, things like that, anything to keep me on track. So that was a big thing for me.
Excellent. Great. And Tanya.
I would reiterate what Christine said about the body language. I know I personally don't like talking on the phone with people because I can't see them. And as you can see, I use my hands when I talk. And I just find it a lot easier over Zoom to talk to people. So it's just keeping that in mind. And also the listening for the needs that don't necessarily come out as I need this, but that you're reading between the lines to get what the person wants.
Good stuff. Great. Well, listen, I want to keep everybody, I want to respect everybody's time. So thank you for being such a great group and very interactive and participative. And listen, happy holidays, stay safe. And Christmas is coming up close. So enjoy. And thanks again, Tanya, for setting this up, and Christine and the rest of the Chamber crew.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
This was great. Thanks so much.
thank you.
Our pleasure.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Eric.
All right. Take care.
This was fantastic, and we'll be posting it, and we can share it as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone. Bye.